thanks for everyone who's joined the webinar so far. We are excited to talk to you today about QuickStarts, a new initiative that Vera Solutions is just in the process of releasing now. So we've got quite a few things to chat to you about today. But before we dive in, we'll just go through some intros. My name is Caitlin. I am calling in from a very freezing cold Cape Town, South Africa right now. So you'll have to excuse my puffer jackets, and maybe you can see my breath and my shivering, hopefully not. But I have been working with Vera for going on about 4 years, primarily in the capacity of solutions architect and business analyst, working with nonprofits of all shapes and sizes to design impact data and grant management systems to meet various use cases. I've worked on clients all over the world and also come from a nonprofit background myself, which has made working on QuickStarts a really, really cool initiative for me over the past few months. So I'm very excited to get these out into the world and hopefully to answer any questions you have today. So I'm joined by my colleague, Alan, who will be co-facilitating with me.
Thank you, Caitlin. So I'm Alan. I'm speaking from São Paulo in Brazil. I joined Vera 9 years ago as a consultant, and I was a client of Vera for 3 years before that. So I was sitting where you are today, super eager to learn more about technology and how to streamline operations of the nonprofit organization that I worked at the time. Then joined our team in Boston in the US and came to São Paulo about 6 years ago to set up our office here. Today, I am the Director of Business Development for our North America region mostly, and also support sales in Latin America. So very grateful to be here and share a little bit with you all today.
Lovely. Thanks, Alan. Great. So we've got a few things lined up for this webinar today. For the first half of the meeting, Alan will take us through some of the most common consistent challenges that we see from nonprofits and social sector organizations in managing your impact data. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the Salesforce platform. For anyone on the call who's not familiar with Salesforce, it is the underlying CRM technology that Vera chooses to work with. And does sit under the hood for all of our QuickStart solutions. Then I'll take back the mic for the second half of the call, and we'll talk in more detail about QuickStart bundles. What are they? Why do they exist? What are the bundles? How can they service your organizations? We'll talk a little bit about the delivery model and what it's like to go through the process of implementing a QuickStart bundle. And finally, we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get in touch with us to learn more or ask any of the questions that you might have. Great. So we're hoping that we can get a little bit of engagement during this webinar. So it's not just Alan and myself speaking the entire time. We would love to learn a little bit more about your organizations as we go through the process here. So to do this, we're using a tool called Menti. Anyone on the webinar can join Menti by scanning the QR code with your phone, or you can go to menti.com and enter the code. That is 63574839. And what that will do is it'll open a browser for you that follows along with the webinar presentation as we go through, and it will allow you to submit responses for any interactive questions that we have as we go. I'll give everyone just a second to log into Menti there. We would really love to have your inputs. And this Menti code is on all of the relevant slides. So if you need to log back into Menti, don't stress. We will have that code up. Okay, cool. Great. So we'll start out with just a few quick icebreakers just to get a little bit of engagement, learn a little bit more about all of your organizations. We'd love to know where in the world you are joining from. Obviously, this is our North America webinar, so most likely everyone will be North America focused, but you never know. If you're joining from a phone, you can drop the pin from the upper right part of your screen, I believe. Okay, it looks like we've got some pins dropping, so everyone is figuring out how to do this. Okay, super. Got one South America. Alan, was that you, or do we have a South America attendee on the call as well?
I think we have someone else.
Nice, great. Super. Okay, lots of America's organizations on. Great. Okay, our next question is, what type of organization are you? Vera works with a number of different types of social sector organizations, we say as sort of the general umbrella, and those can be nonprofit organizations, but can also be different types of organizations like impact investors, foundations, multilaterals, etc. And sometimes we also have some other tech providers join these calls. Always good to hear from other organizations in the tech for good space. Okay, great. One foundation, social enterprise, quite a few nonprofits. Perfect. Super. That's a nice blend of organizations and blend of use cases. Great. Okay, for this question, we're curious to know what team you work on in your organization. I believe for this Menti slide, you can select more than one team. We know for many nonprofits, staff members often wear more than one hat. It was certainly the case when I was working for a nonprofit. Okay, great. Programs, Mel team, perfect. Fundraising, business development, great. We've definitely got quick start bundles that service those three teams for sure. So keen to hear some feedback and some pain points. Yeah, from everyone from those teams later in the webinar. Great, thanks for that. Okay, final question here. What is the size of your organization? And here we're really just looking to understand the kind of the scope of the attendees on the call. Okay, great. And similarly at Vera, we work with a very broad array of organizations, all shapes and sizes, from very, very small 1 to 5 person teams all the way up to very large organizations with very mature business processes as well. Okay, cool. So good splits here. Great. We've got a good range of organizations on the call. That's fantastic. Thanks everyone for that engagement. Great. So I'll hand it over to Alan to talk a little bit more about Vera.
Great. Thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, so who are we? Who's Vera? We are a B Corp, very social and mission-driven organization. We were born in South Africa 14 years ago. One of our co-founders, Zach Kaufman, worked in a nonprofit there. They did education around HIV/AIDS using soccer as part of that. They had Excel spreadsheets all over the place. And Zach had used these platforms, Salesforce, in other organizations before. It became a revolution when they implemented Salesforce there. Other organizations started asking for similar systems. They started building it, and that's how Vera was born. Then we opened an office in Kenya, then in Mumbai, and started spreading around the globe. Today, as you can see here, we have offices in 6 different countries. We have people in a little bit more, cover from the US all the way through India. If Caitlin goes to the next slide, you're going to see some of our clients that range from very small nonprofit organizations to global nonprofit organizations like Catholic Relief Services, for example, path. We have local ones like GFE in Brazil, foundations, small, medium, and large, like Arimax Foundation in Brazil, the Skull Foundation in the US, super global and important in the sector. The types of work we do also vary quite a bit. Here are a few other organizations in the US that we have served over the years. One big client we have now, for example, is World Vision. Two smaller organizations, Trees for the Future, Go Rising, for example. And the types of systems are also vary from programs to fundraising to impact measurement. Okay, now we get into the challenges that we all have and that I had myself. So as I mentioned briefly, I was a client of Vera before. The organization we worked for, Women Win, 10 staff members in the Netherlands, but with work across the globe. We had Excel spreadsheets to manage most of what we did. In the programmatic side, for example, we received reports from organizations that we partnered with on PDFs and Excel sheets, and it took us a long time to consolidate all that data and make sense of it. So that's how we imagine that you all have your data set up right now. So siloed, if Caitlin goes to the next slide, there are some specific states and concerns that we all currently have, and then what the future ideal state would be. So as I was saying, initially some siloed systems, they can be Excel spreadsheets that each team has, or even each person has in one team, for example. And then what we want is one unified space where everybody can see each other's data, the ones that make sense for them to see. We want to be able to see insights at a glance, so very quickly have some reports and dashboards rather than have a manual process to pull information together and then make sense of data that is many times already outdated. So instead of doing manual workarounds on ways on how to use the tools and how to use our sheets, actually have a streamlined, user-friendly process that the tool, the technology walks you through and makes sense to the process that you all have. Then a big concern that organizations have is the cost of those systems. Like, ooh, is it going to fit my budget? Is it not? I cannot do that. Actually, we do want something that is affordable for us as a tool. I think the Quick Start, what we are presenting today, is an attempt for that. Then finally, reporting, as I quickly said before, the idea of needing to pull information from different parts rather than having pre-built reports and dashboards that I can, like every week or every month, look at without having to do a lot of manual work, is something that we all aim for and is our dream as an organization. So historically, and you might have seen this already, we have a very visited blog in our website that talks about 10 criteria to evaluate choosing a technology, a tool. There, I'm not going to go through everything, but at a high level, there are 3 big questions. First big question you have to ask yourself and your teams is, will this technology meet my needs today? So for the process that I have, the features that I need, how user-friendly is that? Is it going to address my needs today? Second one is, I cannot buy something only for today and the next year or so. I need to think at least 4 to 6, 7 years. So on average, 5 years. Is it going to meet my needs in 5 years? That's the second question. And then when I focus on that question, I think about, I'm going to grow, so how flexible is it? Is it also easily to integrate with other tools and other technology that will come? Is it going to innovate quickly enough with what is out there in terms of technology and where technology is going to go? Then the very last one, and we all have in mind, is in terms of cost. How affordable is it? What's the budget that I need in order to adopt those tools? And we talk about total cost of ownership. So don't think only how much it costs today and for you to implement this, but also think about long-term license costs and maintenance costs for you to choose a tool. Great. Now we get again to Menti. If you joined after we had explained, please go to menti.com, either on your phone or on your browser in your computer. You might use this code 63574839 that is on the top of the screen here. And then you have the opportunity to type some answers as we interact a little bit. So very first piece, thank you for already sending a response. So what are some of your biggest challenges when it comes to managing your data and understanding impact? Too many spreadsheets, yes, as I said, that's a classic one, and very important to use spreadsheets, and Excel is a very flexible tool, commonly used, very cheap to use, but we also have challenges with them. What else do we find? Struggle to find information from data scattered across different documents, sheets, and systems. Okay, makes sense. If we have more. Yeah, it's difficult to collaborate amongst the team. That's great. Not enough info at one place, so data scattered again. There's missing insights. Great. Yeah, that's all what we want to solve for. Great, thank you. I think we can go to the next one. Caitlin. Okay, other question. What tools are you currently using to manage your inbound donations, programs, portfolios, and impact? Okay, that's an interesting one. What are the tools that we have there? I'm sure Excel is going to be one of those. Curious about the other ones. Lots of Excel spreadsheets, great. HubSpot, we got there. Dropbox, great. Okay, cool, more Excel. Okay, that's great. So it's definitely close to, yeah, Word, of course, close to what we were expecting in general. And I think what QuickStarts want and aim to solve for.
It's always a lot of Excel, hey?
Yeah, why not? Cool. Now we get into the platform itself, as Caitlin mentioned in the beginning. Salesforce is the platform that we started using back then and continue using till now. There are a few reasons. First one, it is the lead CRM application in the world, not only for nonprofits, but also for for-profit organizations. So this gives us the indication that it is a top-notch platform and technology that we should all benefit from. It's not by coincidence that for our sector, it's a very important one as well, because out of the 2,000 companies / organizations that use it, about 1/4 of that are nonprofit organizations. So it is part of our sector. Go to the next slide, please, Caitlin. So the power of Salesforce as a platform is, first, it is a relational database. So these concentric circles show that in the bottom of it, the platform itself, differently from Excel, that you have one sheet and you have rows and columns that not necessarily relate to a different tab or to other files in a relational database, you can do that. So if I click on a contact record, for example, let's say it's Caitlin, and she has been a volunteer in my programs, I can see the historical participation of her as a volunteer in my programs. If she's also a donor, from that same page, I can see her donations. And if I click in her recurring donations, I can then see all the payments that she has done over time. So that's the difference between a relational database and an Excel spreadsheet. Yes, there are many relational databases. More advantages of Salesforce. There are layers around automation. You can send email alerts. You can update different fields automatically. The interface is super friendly, super modern. Reports and dashboards are super easy to build, and you don't need to hire someone to design and build your analytics. You can very easily be trained on it and do it. It's mobile friendly as well. And the APIs are super capable and can integrate very easily with other tools. And then on the left side, you have lots of other nice stuff around access. Someone had talked about collaboration. There is an internal chat tool within the platform that is super useful as well. Very easy to set up and very robust way to set up who have access to what part within the system and who cannot see some things. Very easy to open up access of one part of the system to external users. So your constituents, your donors, your volunteers, and so on. Okay, then finally, there is the Power of Us program. It is a program from Salesforce. It's been around for several years. Any 501c organizations can get 10 donated licenses, subscriptions, or users. And then discounts go up to 80% in additional licenses if you have more than 10 people using the system in your organization. Quite straightforward to sign up and be part of the program if you meet all the criteria, and basically all our clients, I would say 95% of our clients do meet the criteria and can get these advantages from the Power of Us program from Salesforce. It's a Salesforce program. Great. What else do we have? Caitlin, back to you.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks for taking us through Salesforce. I think that Power of Us program is such a useful thing and makes Salesforce accessible to so many organizations that it might not be otherwise. So please do reach out to us if you have any questions on that whatsoever. Great. So now we'll dive into really the meat of the presentation for today, which is introducing QuickStarts. So I'll start off just by explaining what actually is a quick start. So quick starts are essentially a standardized pre-built solution that services different nonprofit use cases. So Vera has worked obviously over many, many years with many different types of organizations solving different problems. And from all of those years of experience, we've been able to distill some industry best practices. So what we've done with QuickStarts is to take Salesforce as that baseline platform with all of its functionality and flexibility, and then build on top of that some additional features and a few different bundles that support different nonprofit use cases, which I'll talk you through just now. So the idea is that we've got this kind of pre-built, all bundled up solution that is more cost effective and also more predictable in terms of costs than perhaps conventional system implementations, and that is deliverable in as little as 6 weeks. So we're really shrinking the cost barrier and the time to implement barrier while still delivering you something that is usable kind of off the shelf, and then still remains flexible and can evolve with you over time as you grow and your organization changes. So why did Vera choose to build QuickStarts? Again, through our many years of implementing systems for nonprofits, I think what we've seen is this increasing demand for accountability and transparency in the sector. So this increased demand for organizations, no matter how big or small you are, to be data-driven and to be able to make informed decisions from your data. So even though there is this increased demand for that, not every organization obviously has a super high capacity tech team, or you may not have an enormous technology budget to be able to go implement super fancy systems. So what we're trying to do with QuickStarts is really provide an answer to that gap in the market, to provide something that is usable and will give you the tools that you need to be able to really track and manage data to improve your programming over time, enhance reporting to donors, etc., in a way that is accessible for more organizations. Great. So we have, at this point in time, developed 3 core Quick Start bundles that you see here on the screen. So our first is Quick Start for fundraising. This bundle is really looking at supporting individual and institutional fundraising all the way through its pipeline. Then we've got Quick Start for program delivery. This is looking at program management and really trying to track the benefits that individuals who participate in your programming get over time. Then thirdly, we've got our portfolio management and impact measurement bundle. This bundle is supported by Vera Solutions' product called AMP Impact, which again has been tried and tested over many, many years. And this bundle really gives you what we believe, at least, is a very best-in-class, industry-leading set of program project management tools, as well as really robust impact measurement, monitoring, and evaluation tools as well. Cool. So if you become a QuickStart customer, this is what you get as a part of that implementation package. So in addition to the solution or the system, in addition to the technology, you'll also get access to a set of functional kind of business documentation and technical documentation. This is intended to help empower you to really understand the solution so that you can build on it and grow it over time, so that you can really own it as it evolves and becomes a more mature system beyond just the parameters of that Quick Start implementation. And then we've also got a few different training initiatives that happen as part of the Quick Start project as well. So you would be paired up with a technical consultant from the Vera team who would be responsible for training your super users, which you can think of as your system champions, kind of key or primary users, your system administrator or administrators, as well as doing a little bit of lightweight data creation, data migration training to ensure that you can get your data in production. Great. So all of those pieces put together really intended to make sure that you leave off not just with a piece of technology, but so that you can adopt this piece of technology and really use it effectively in your team. Great. So additionally, again, because every Quick Start is built on top of the Salesforce platform, which Alan explained in a little bit more detail, every single bundle has this CRM, so constituent relationship management layer to it. So this allows you to manage your accounts or your organizations as well as your contacts and the relationships between them. So like Alan was saying earlier, if you've got a contact for Caitlin, you can see how I might relate to different organizations. Like I'm an employee of Vera Solutions, and I might be a donor to another organization or a volunteer to another organization. And you can track that 360-degree view of your accounts and contacts over time. Then we've also got collaboration features. So for instance, in-system chats functionality, lightweight file storage, as well as the ability to manage tasks and activities. All of that is really nice and slick in Salesforce, very nice UIs, user interfaces, etc. Great. Then under the other little block here, in addition to the training and the documentation that I spoke about already, every Quick Start customer is able to rename system labels. So for things like accounts contacts, indicators. I'm blanking on any other labels at the moment, but you would have the opportunity to make sure that the terminology in the system and the user interface matches the terminology that you use in your organization, again, to help your users adopt that system. And then finally, reports and dashboards. As Alan said as well, Salesforce has really robust reporting and dashboard features, very user-friendly, very appealing to look at. So that is something that you can do independently to build out new reports and dashboards, but every Quick Start bundle also comes with a set of pre-configured reports and dashboards to help you very quickly get answers to common business questions. Okay, so because quick starts are quick, we haven't been able to include everything under the sun. So in the interest of transparency, here are a few things that are not included in any of the quick start bundles. So this would be multi-currency and multi-language support. So you would need to choose one corporate currency, and all of the bundles operate in English at the moment, although we are planning to introduce multi-language support later on. They're not supporting mobile and offline data collection and management just yet. Any very complex data migration, data cleaning, transformation would again come at an additional cost depending on what your needs are. There's a few different tiers of services that we can talk through there in more detail. And then any enhanced over and above what the bundles already are built with, any additional custom automation, data security, data visibility requirements. The last one there is just integration with other software. So importantly, even though quick starts don't come with this out of the box at the moment, again, because we work on Salesforce and it's this very flexible, very extendable platform, all of these things are 100% doable. They would just be doable in a subsequent project phase, either by Vera if you need our help, or importantly, I think something that our whole team is very passionate about is making sure that our clients develop a sense of ownership over your systems. So anything that you are able to perform and execute on your own as a team independently is fantastic. And then Vera is here to help wherever you need it. Okay, so we'll dive in a little bit deeper to the functionality in each bundle now. So starting with our Quick Start for Fundraising bundle. The key features for this bundle really, again, is managing your inbound pipeline of donations. So both individual and institutional donations. So being money that comes from individual person donors as well as account or organization donors or foundations. So this bundle is really set up to track that fundraising pipeline quite granularly from an opportunity of a donation all the way through to the commitment or the pledge of that donation to the actual payments or transactions that happen from your funders, so that you can see, you can compare, for example, the amount of money in your opportunity pipeline versus actualized funds. What is not included in this bundle is any kind of externally facing donor portal, as well as any integrations with other payment software or payment gateway. So importantly, again, both of those things can definitely be added because they're a little bit more specific to certain organizations' use cases. We haven't included that now, but it is something that we can configure later on. Great. So quick starts for program delivery. This bundle is really looking at managing your programs, and each program is set up with a suite of benefits or services that people receive as a product of participating in those programs. So this bundle, excuse me, really allows you to manage those programs over time and then attribute those benefits and services to individuals. You can manage beneficiary profiles, you can track registration, attendance, how many sessions people go to, etc. So it's really looking at impact on that individual beneficiary level. Then there is also some lightweight outcomes management, and this would be looking at your impact at a slightly larger scale, zooming out and seeing impact at the more organizational level. Great. So a few features that are not included in the initial bundle, so not included out of the box, is again, any kind of externally facing portal. This could be something like a website, like interface that would allow individuals to apply for your programs. We're also not including assessment or survey functionality. And so this might allow you to do scoring or grading as examples. And finally, we're also not including case management, but importantly, Salesforce has a really, really robust set of case management features. So if that is something that is important to your use case, definitely let us know. Again, absolutely possible to set you up with in a later phase of work. Okay, so finally, our quick start for portfolio management and impact measurement really rolls off the tongue. So again, this bundle PMIM is supported by AMP Impacts, which is Vera's products, which has been implemented for, I don't actually have the exact number, Alan, maybe you do, but many, many organizations over time, and has a very useful set of functionality. Did you have that number, Alan?
For Salesforce in general, AMP,
AMP.
100, a little bit
Nice.
over 100.
Nice. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we've seen AMP applied to many different use cases, which has been exciting to see over time and to watch the product grow and evolve. So the first part of this bundle is portfolio management. So here we've got the management of programs and projects. So typically with your program sitting at an umbrella level with projects nested underneath. And this functionality allows you to do things like managing the roles of internal and external organizations and individuals. For example, if you have an external evaluator looking at doing monitoring and evaluation on your project, you can add a role for that on your project. You can also classify or tag your programs and projects with different categories. So really common ones for us are geographic area and thematic area. So by country, continent, or on the thematic side, perhaps gender, diversity and inclusion, environment, so forth. Then we've got some nice, more granular project management features. So for example, you can manage activities with dependencies and planned and actual start and end dates on a visual Gantt chart timeline for each project. And you can get into some lighter weight financial budgetary planning. This wouldn't necessarily replace a financial accounting tool, but does give you a basic audit trail of the finances on your project. So everything from setting up program project level budgets, looking at plan versus actual expenditure, tracking disbursements if you move money from your organizations to partner organizations, and some nice financial reporting features. Finally, we have quite a robust set of risk management features in this bundle, which will allow you to set up risk registers, track risks at quite a granular level, including probability and impact and so forth, and set up risk mitigation strategies, actions, and assessments for those mitigations. Great. Then on the impact measurement side, this is a deceptively small little block at the bottom here for a very big, robust set of impact management functionality. So the primary features here are that AMP Impact and PMIM allow you to set up and manage logical frameworks. So like a theory of change, for instance, all the way through from your inputs, your activities, your outputs, your outcomes, your impact statements, and then tether indicators to that logical framework. So then you can set up your indicators, which you'll use to evaluate impacts. You can set baseline data, you can set targets and results by a time frame, by geographic area, etc. And this gives you a very nuanced understanding of the performance of your programs over time that you can disaggregate by certain features, for example, disaggregating by sex or by age, as well as aggregating up. So you could aggregate up by geographic area as an example. Finally, we also have some lightweight survey functionality here, which will allow you to collect narrative reports or collect some qualitative data about your programs and projects as well. Super. So the two key features that are not included in the PMIM core bundle are, again, an externally facing portal for users. So for example, if you work with implementation or reporting partners, as well as the management of incoming institutional or individual funds. However, because these are quite common use cases that we see from our clients, we have decided to create two additional completely optional add-on bundles for PMIM to service these two requirements. So PMIM Plus Awards allows you to manage in quite a simple, straightforward way. It's not a super nuanced donation management tool in the same way that the bundle for fundraising is, but it gives you a lightweight management tool for your incoming institutional funds and allows you to allocate those buckets of money, if you will, to your programs and projects. So there we're looking at our incoming funds. Then on the other side, we've got our Plus Partner Portal bundle add-on that introduces that externally facing website-like interface for any reporting partners, implementation partners that you may have. So the most conventional use case we see here are organizations that need to receive deliverables, reporting deliverables from their partners. And this can look like financial actuals, so what partners actually spend to execute programming on the ground or in the fields, or indicator results, so that you can start to collect and understand your impacts, potentially from partners across the world. Those external users who would interface with the partner portal can also look at their performance, so they can also see reports and dashboards. Okay, that was a lot of me talking, so I'll pass it back to Alan now, and we'll get some more feedback from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Caitlin. This is great. And these quick starts are kind of a dream come true for me personally, since I joined Vera. There are many more simple use cases that I wanted to see up and running quicker and more affordable to our clients. And finally, we got to this point. So it's very exciting. But I have a few questions for you all in terms of other pieces that we could potentially work on now that we have these ready to go. So go back to Menti, please, menti.com. The code is on the top of the screen, 63574839. Very first question we have there is, what other functionality would you want to see within a quick start? So we saw that Caitlin talked about three that we have first: fundraising, program management, and then PMIM, so project program management and impact measurement. What else? What are other fun things that we could have that would make our lives easier as an organization? Okay, so some questions here. Could you use portfolio management to allocate our grants to programs? Caitlin, do you want to take that one on? I think the answer is yes, but you can say more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with your yes. Yeah, exactly. So you can use the PMIM Plus Awards bundle. So you would need that optional add-on there, the Plus Awards add-on, to manage that incoming pipeline of funds to your organization. So whether you call that institutional fundraising or you call that grants management for you, the answer is yes. Just important there, I think, to distinguish between incoming grants, so money coming from a funder to your organization, which is covered, versus outbound grants, so other organizations applying to you for grant funding. That second piece, that outbound grants piece, is not covered. But to answer your question here, yes, that is possible.
Okay, great. There are some other fun things. So the reports and dashboards, I think we covered that a little bit. So Salesforce has the option for you to report on any data that is part of your system. Do we have in any of those quick start bundles pre-built reports and dashboards, Caitlin, or are those things that people would just learn in Trailhead and then, or in our training and then create the reports on their own?
Yeah, it's a great question. So each of the bundles does come with a set of pre-built reports and dashboards. So at this stage, we're building reports and dashboards based on the most common questions, business questions that we see our clients trying to answer. So we'll have a baseline set of reports available in each bundle, but there's definitely the scenario that you have questions that you need to answer that you might need new reports for as well. So yes, we do have pre-configured reports, but we'll also provide some training on how to go and create reports and dashboards by yourself so that your team is empowered to go and get that data when you need to.
Sounds great. We have one around support. I can take that on and then feel free to add, Caitlin. So how can I support our system once we have it? So our recommendation, and you need it actually too, for your system to survive, you need a system administrator. So that person would not need to be a dedicated person. They can use a few hours per week for managing the system. If you have a, let's say up to 5, 10 users, just a couple of hours potentially could be enough. That person will learn more about Salesforce and the backend. We'll be able to provide to the provision of users when people come and go from your organization. They will be able to do some tweaks in the backend of the system, like creating new fields, potentially changing some things. Now, Vera does offer managed services. Our strongly recommendation, it's part of the Quick Start, is a 6-month support from Vera in order to support with more training, rollout, small adjustments to your system. And then Vera can continue that work with a dedicated service delivery analyst for a minimum of 10 hours per month to support you all being successful with your system. Anything to add here, Caitlin?
No, not really. I think you nailed it. Yeah, perhaps maybe one just recommendation, just to reiterate what you've said, Alan, is I think it's useful to, as you start to think about your own roadmap and evolution for your system, to just make sure that you're thinking about the amount of time it will take individuals to get used to the changes that come with a new system. Salesforce, I think, as systems go, is pretty easy to adopt. And we've added a few things to the bundles, like in-system help text and things of that nature, to try and smooth the adoption process as much as possible. But it can just take time for that change to get comfortable. And I think our managed services team is really well set up to help you handle that change as elegantly as possible.
Yeah, great. Around data migration, I think we did include a little bit, didn't we? Can you please get into that?
Yeah, sure. So included in the regular baseline cost of the Quick Start is some, I wouldn't necessarily call it data migration, but perhaps data creation training to help you make sure that you are getting your existing data into production. So production is your live environment of Salesforce in a way that is high quality. The data is clean in production. From there, if you require the migration, so the uploading of old historical data into Salesforce, we've got a few different add-on tiers for that. So we've got one tier for importing accounts and contacts. And then there's another tier for a more comprehensive data migration. So for instance, if you need to migrate historical donations for the fundraising bundle, or if you need to migrate historical indicators and their targets and the results for the PMIM bundle, we can do that just again at an elevated add-on. And then if you have very complex data migration requirements, that might require a more substantial conversation, but I think that can happen offline.
Yeah. Thanks, Caitlin. We've spent quite a bit. I think there is one or two more questions. Let's go quickly through these other two. So there's a question here around third-party tools and a specific about finance system and connectors. So answer is yes. Salesforce has the App Exchange, which is a shop where you can see everything that is available and can connect to Salesforce. There is a ton, and it's a very robust space, and Salesforce in general has their APIs, and many organizations, many companies have produced some connectors for their own tools. So it's absolutely possible to integrate with other tools, and there are finance systems as well as part of that. Then finally, grant application portals and then manage grant applications. I think similar. Caitlin, the bundle of, well, the add-on to the PMIM and the portal, does that include a space for a grant application?
Not out of the box. So that's a good flag. The Plus Partner Portal bundle is really just looking at ingesting deliverables from implementation or reporting partners and not facilitating that grant application process. But again, something that Vera does quite a lot, so we could definitely talk about that as a later project.
Great. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And what hesitations do you have in exploring a Salesforce-based solution? So what makes you anxious about Salesforce, if you had already thought about it or after seeing this presentation of ours? Okay, first one, unclear how this can help us become more efficient with demonstrating the impact we make to our funders. Interesting. Okay, so what I would say, and Caitlin, please feel free to add here. It's basically, I think like there's a spectrum. Like if you have a very advanced way and your funders are super connected to what you do, you could get to one place that they have a login to your system and they are the ones who can get in and see your impact data and see how the money that they are giving is actually coming back and being implemented. So you can have that level if they have a portal to access. On the other side of the spectrum, like the very minimum, it's you being able to get all the money that they have that comes in, how to allocate that to your specific project, and then reporting on those projects, and then just taking reports and dashboards, extracting that data from the system, either exporting to an Excel and then playing around somewhere else, or just taking screenshots of charts or downloading charts, and then using reports that you give to them. Anything to add on this first one, Caitlin?
No,
cool. Then we have two more, well, three more now. Thank you. Salesforce is so big, we're small with 18 employees. Absolutely not an issue. We have small clients with as small as 3 people staff that use Salesforce and are super successful with Salesforce. So definitely not needed. It's a platform that doesn't require code. Like with clicks, you can achieve a ton of it. Maintenance can be small if your system is simple as well. So wouldn't worry about that. Seems a bit pricey, especially for a small nonprofit. As we said, the Power of Us program will support you. If you are super small with less than 10 folks, then you can have licenses for free, basically. Technical maintenance of the system and upskilling my team. Okay, so for a team to learn, I think it's basically using the system, and the more you use, the better you get. It's very important to have at least one person within your organization who is like the system admin or a champion to really master how the system is used. And then, yes, like the technical maintenance, if you don't have a system administrator, you have the option to hire Vera, for example, or any other Salesforce partner in the ecosystem to support you with the maintenance. So I would say definitely not a requirement. And as I said, if it's a quick start and you don't add a lot of complexity to your system, I wouldn't be super concerned about it. Finally, big learning curve. We don't know Salesforce. I think this is true for any type of new tool or technology, except if you were born in the last 10 years and take a phone on your hands and then you figure out everything like my children do. I think it is something you have to go through with anything. I don't think Salesforce has anything specific that makes our lives harder. If that's the case, it's for the opposite. There are tons of trailheads and resources online, and Trailhead is the gamified way that Salesforce has to learn the platform. Super fun, super nice, and easy to use with text, some videos and quizzes for you all to learn and your team to learn. So that's also something I wouldn't be super concerned about. Cool. We're almost at time. I think there is one more question. If not, we could just skip the last question if we have one and then go to the next slide, because I don't want folks to be late for their next call. Can you please go to the next one, Caitlin? Unless you have something on this one.
Oh,
Oh,
nope,
yeah.
I think that was our last question. Great.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks. Okay, just a couple more slides before we wrap up here. So our final piece here is really just to explain the difference between a quick start implementation and what a conventional kind of consulting implementation would look like. So the conventional track here is that you would normally start with quite an in-depth discovery and design process where a service provider like Vera Solutions would assemble a whole project team, and we would go about quite meticulously eliciting and documenting all of your requirements, all quite conceptual at that stage. Then we would, in a second phase, go into Salesforce and build features according to the requirements that we've gathered. We would go through a very rigorous testing and validation process to make sure that the functionality meets the requirements. Then we would train your team, the client-side team. You would need to provide us a layer of validation. And then finally, we would deploy that configuration into production. So all in all, you're looking at quite a long burn project life cycle here. Usually it says up to 9 months. I would even stretch that maybe up to 12 months, depending on the scope of the project. So you can compare that to QuickStarts, which are much shorter burn life cycle. So again, because QuickStarts are pre-built, because we've taken all of these learnings from many hundreds of implementation projects that we've done according to the first life cycle here, we have packaged up these different quick start bundles. And because of that, we don't need to do the discovery and design and complex build process. So because of that, we can really shrink down this project life cycle to just a month and a half, around about 6 weeks, to getting you a system that is immediately usable by your team. So really significant shrinking of time to delivery, time to value for your organization. And I think also maybe just important to flag again, based on the responses that we got to that last question, is that quick starts are not just intended to be more affordable, but are also predictable in the nature of the costing. So they are a little bit easier, I would say, for organizations to budget for, as opposed to your normal consulting implementation lifecycle, where the budgets can be changeable. Great. So in terms of what the implementation process actually looks like from your side, from the client side, once the project kicks off, you would meet the Vera team, a pretty small two-person team that would implement this from the Vera side with you. We would go through the process of relabeling any of the terms in the system that we need to match your organizational terminology. Then we would go ahead and just install the package in a sandbox environment, so like a playground environment, if you will. We would conduct a system demo and training for your users in that safe environment. And once everyone was happy, then we would go ahead and deploy it into production, into the live environment, and hand over all of the system documentation so that you have what you need to continue the process. After that, like Alan mentioned, we do have managed services support options to make sure that you've got all of the support structures that you need to continue to adopt and potentially make very minor changes to the system in the subsequent months. Great. So what's next for anyone that has questions on anything that we've spoken about today, whether it's the bundles or it's Salesforce, or you would really just like to learn more about Vera, we would love to chat to you. You are welcome to reach out to us at verasolutions.org/contact. That will put you in touch with one of our business development staff. Or you are also welcome to reach out to Alan or myself directly. You can see our email addresses here at the bottom of the screen, or you can just access our contact form or our QuickStarts homepage to learn more about QuickStarts using the QR codes. Great. I think we will wrap it up there, seeing as we're already a little bit over time. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Alan, for your help.
Yeah, thank you all. It was a super pleasure. Hope to continue connecting with you all.